Hi, today we're going to be looking at putting some LED lighting inside my new case. This is a Corsair CARBIDE series Air 240. They seem to be a pretty popular case. They're pretty easy to load up and make really clean looking. They've got a nice, I think, a nice color aesthetic to them. You get this in black or white, but this is really not a review of the case other than me trying to put some LED lighting in here. In this case, I'm not going to be using the RGB type lighting. I know that's real popular right now. Move this beast around. Here you go. So this has got a really nice plastic window on it to see inside, which I think is really cool, and it's a really clean install. It's one of these dual chamber type cases where the power supply and all the hard drives are in the back, and then the cable management's really nice. You've got all these ports to put cables through and everything, but I don't have any lighting inside, and I really didn't want to worry about putting any kind of RGB type really colorful lighting in there or anything like that. But I do have some small LED lights, strip lights that were for under counter use that I thought might look kind of nice for this. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how I'm going to put that in here. And I just want enough light just to light up the interior, just to kind of show off what's inside. Not there's really nothing inside to show off, but it would just look nice to have some lighting in there. So we're going to go ahead and move off to the shop and look at the kind of lighting we're going to use, and then we'll come back and actually install it into the case, and hopefully this will go pretty quick. So moving over to the shop, we're going to look at these LED lights and see what they look like and kind of how they come. They come on a reel like this, and they're just a strip of LED lights. I'll get a close-up shot of this so you can see as well. But there's a strip of lights, and about every 3/4 of an inch or so there's a little LED bulb. About every 3 inches or so there's a point where you could cut this and actually splice it using these little splice things. You can go around corners with it and over support beams and stuff like that, because it's made for going under the counter. And in this case, I actually used them for under my shelf in my shop in this little area here, just to kind of help give it a little more background light. The light is not really super strong on this. Basically, if it's thinking about using it for your primary illumination on a workbench, it's not that good, but it is good for just kind of help adding a little extra light to what you're working on, and I find it useful. Plus, it just kind of looks nice too. So these come on a roll. I've got a link to these in a description for some of these items, so if you want to look at this and kind of get started, there's several designs, different colors, and this is the most basic ones out there. A friend of mine was cleaning his house, and he had several of these packets of lights available, and so I was able to get them for free, which is perfect. And I had used them for this project here just to light up underneath the shelf here, and that worked really well. 12 volts, so it was really simple to hook up, and 12 volts will match our PC power output as well, so it'll be easy to hook into the power source of the PC. Like I said, the strips look like this. When you first take them off the roll, actually the first part will have two leads like this, red and a black, and you'll have a positive and a negative, and that you can connect up to your power supply. What we're going to be doing is actually retrofitting a Molex plug and using that to plug into the PC power, so when you turn on your machine, the lights will light up. So it should be a pretty easy thing to do. So when you look at the Molex plug, probably the hardest part is determining what the voltage you want. So when you look at a Molex, we'll use the one with the colors on it because it's easier to see. But when you use these, this is the male side, so it's got, you might think of it as the female because you're going in here, but the pins are actually sticking out within the plug itself, so that would be the male. The color coding is red, black, black, and yellow. So red is going to be your 5 volt, and yellow is your 12 volt, and the two middles are grounds. So I've got a Molex here that came with another plug system. It was a splitter, and this one happened to be all black, so I wanted to match the interior of the case and kind of hiding all the colors and stuff. So I figured if this peeks out a little bit, it'll be a little bit easier to hide. And in this case, I just made sure I had, this one only came with 3 wires anyway, so that was kind of a no-brainer. So it's only got the 12 volt, but you want to make sure that it is wired for a 12 volt. So if you hold them so the notches are the same, I've got the little notches on the top, you know, where the edges are kind of chamfered, however you say that. And the yellow corresponds to the black on the yellow, here we go. And so the yellow corresponds to the outside one here. So that's going to work out just fine. So what I'm going to do when I wire this, I'm going to simply connect my leads to the wires as appropriate. I'll solder them, and I'm going to use some shrink wrap over them, use some black shrink wrap. And I think what I'll do is cut this to size and get the tubes, shrink wrap tubes I need and everything. But I think pretty much all this will be covered with a black shrink wrap. So again, it'll be camouflaged within the computer case itself. Once you get up to the strip of light itself, it's going to be white, but that kind of makes sense because it's a light strip, and that'll be hidden behind the bezel of the case that we've got, and you'll see how that's going to work. I will leave just a little bit of the wire exposed, so I've got, when I shrink wrap it, so I won't go right up to the, first I was thinking about pushing that shrink wrap all the way around this little tube here where it's already shrink wrapped on the initial connector, but I think we're just going to leave a little bit of raw wire, not raw, but plain wire, so we'll have a little more flexibility when we mount it inside the machine. If I was to put shrink wrap all the way through, this would become a pretty stiff length of wire, and I don't think that'd be as easy to work with. So we're just going to keep some flexibility in there just to make it easy to work with. Now, to attach this material to the inside of the case, this has a self-adhesive strip on the back. You're just going to peel off the tape, and then your sticky stuff is on the inside. I did this underneath the shelf here, and when I originally did it, this is just raw plywood. It's not finished in any way, and I put it up there, and about 5 seconds later it all came down because it just didn't want to stick to raw plywood. So I don't know if we'll have this problem in the PC case or not. I'm thinking we won't because it's raw metal, so it's a good smooth surface and it's not sloughing off wood particles or whatever, or dust or whatever's on the surface of this wood. So it should stick pretty good, but it may be if there's too much heat buildup, or where it happens to be in this case, in the case we're using, has some screens and some grating on it that might be difficult to hook this up to as we go around the perimeter of the case. So we'll see as we get in there, but we'll try it first, try the easy way first, and if not, we'll go back and attach it somehow. We'll take a closer look at this as well and see how I attach it. I just used some wire staples to help keep that up in there, and that's worked out well since I did that. And that's the strip here of the LED lights. So there's not much to look at, and they look kind of bright when you're seeing them with the camera like this because that's the only majority of the light source that's in there. And it's worked out pretty good. I like it just for more of an accent lighting and kind of add a little bit more light to the workstation here, but it's not really something you light up the room with. And I don't know if even in a kitchen situation, if those would be bright enough. Now, if you wanted to, instead of just getting, this is just plain white, but if you wanted to, they have different kind of colors, blue and green, red, all that. And they also have RGB with controllers and things. Obviously, the more bling you get, the more cost is going to be associated with it. So I had this available to me for free, so it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go with this. If you wanted to use the RGB, that'd certainly be something to look at because it'd be kind of cool to have that ability if that's something important to you to have that in your case. And I think that does look neat in these cases. A lot of the modern cases have that, especially the motherboards as well, and the RAM and fans, and just anything that goes into the machine now can have an RGB component to it. And if that's important to you, then probably you want to look to do it some other way than what I'm doing. The cost obviously is going to go up is when you start looking at that. And while you're hooking up these 12-volt connections, keep in mind you can also put other things in your PC as well. I had done a case mod years ago, and I got some little, they're little skulls, and they're meant for cars. You would put them on your windshield wiper nipples or whatever that go on the top of the hood that would squirt the water, and they had hook it up to your 12-volt system in a car, and they had little red lights, eyeballs that would turn on, I guess, when you turn the lights on, or when you hit the squirters. I'm not sure how it was supposed to work in a car like that, but in my computer, I just hooked it into the system, so when you turned on the computer, the little skulls would light up. But you have that ability to plug in other things than just lighting, so keep that in mind. Probably want to avoid any kind of heat-producing things or anything that might cause electrical disturbances or something, but if you're just dealing with bling type things and little lights and stuff, you shouldn't have any problem. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and wire this Molex up, and then we'll meet back into the office and do the install on that. Okay, we're back from the shop, and I went ahead and soldered up my connector, my Molex connector, and to a fresh, actually I had a fresh one of these reels of lights, and I thought because it's already had a hardwired connector to it, I thought I'd just utilize that. If you remember from the previous shot, I showed you how they look like when they first come out of the box, and they have these long leads like this. I just cut it down just a tad and put some shrink wrap over it just to make it look, just keep it black like the rest of the interior. I did leave a little bit of that red and black wire showing just so it'll give me a little more flexibility. The white on that shouldn't really be visible for where I'm going to put this anyway, I hope. So let's turn it on. I'm just going to go ahead and do a reality check, and just we're going to plug it in here. Turn on the machine for a second, see if the lights even come on. Oh, there you go. It works. Okay. Very good. So that's it was pretty bright when you see them in here. So we'll see how they're going to look in the case. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll fast forward here a little bit and take them, feed them through the front, and see how it's going to mount up. So I'd recommend doing this before you get everything plugged in the back. I guess I could have unplugged all my keyboards and stuff, but I didn't. All right. So there's just enough metal around the side here. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to fit in there, but we're going to just play with it and see what it does. Okay, just to get started, I tried to find just a smooth area along the front here and on the bottom that attaches to. Actually, it seems like the sticky stuff's sticking pretty good to the metal, so I don't think we'll have any problems, at least for a while, on that, just that falling off of the metal like it did on the plywood in my studio. Okay, I've got a fan up here I got to work around. Okay, there's a cut point on here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that where these two little copper things are. They give you a little line to cut across. Oop, there you go. Okay, one thing when I put it on, I just tried to find a good smooth surface to attach this to, so we'll get a good adhesive grip on there. There's some grating and some netting and stuff along the top and sides here that I'm trying to avoid. And I'm not too worried about the way this is aimed and where it's positioned, because when we put this on, you can see you've got a pretty good bezel around the edges, and that'll kind of hide anything that's odd looking. Okay, so this is where I started. Came in, and it's got the black cables. You really can't see that. Just a little bit of red right there. And then the line runs across the bottom. There's a nice ridge there. When I got over here, see how I got this grating here for the venting? So I just tried to push it up against where it was solid metal, although I can see I'm in the grating there as well. So some of this I may have to come back and reattach. And then on the top, similar, was around the fan here. And I'm running out of light here, and then, so right through here feels pretty good. Oh, that's on the, I think that might be on the screen as well. So I may have to come back and attach, like this is really well attached along the side here, because that's just sitting on pretty much solid metal. Here's the interior. I've got an older card and nothing. This is actually my son's old machine. I'm just putting it in a new case because I'm about 2 or 3 years behind the curve, because he always gets a new machine and then I get a new one. Well, new to me when he gets a new machine. So that works out pretty good. Good enough. All right, let's see what happens. All right. Ooh, that looks good. I'll go with that. If it's too much light, I can always cut out a little bit of the strips here and there and use those splicers to maybe focus on the middle sections, lighting it out. But right now, this looks pretty good. I don't think that's too bright. We'll see in the middle of the night when I'm using it if it just gives enough ambient light, or if it's something obnoxious looking. So pretty quick project, didn't take me very long, and I so far really like the effect. So we'll see what that looks like long term. Hopefully those don't fall down. If it's on a screen or something, I can probably use a wire tie or something to hold that up. So we'll see how it holds up over time. So if you have any questions or suggestions on something like this, please let me know. I'm guessing if you wanted to go with some RGB type lighting with this type of setup, they do sell these strips with RGB as well, where you can control them, and they have a controller that goes with it. Obviously you pay more for that. This is pretty bottom of the barrel cost wise, because it was free for me, so it was even better. But if you're using RGB, I believe they sell those in these kind of things as well, and you can control it. I don't know if you can tie it into your system or not. There probably is some way to do it, but I'm not aware of how to do that. So anyway, hope you'd enjoy this. If you have any questions, please let me know. I do have some links to these sorts of lights, at least to get you started if you're interested in doing that. It takes you to Amazon. And this case is really cool. So I've had it about a week now, and it was really easy to set up, and I love the way the cable management. I still got a little bit more cable management to do. I've got 3 fans in here, but only 1 fan header, so I've got to get I got a splitter coming that'll finish that up, and I've got to wire some of this CPU fan, clean that up a little bit, but it's really turning out nice. So till next time, I hope to do more of these, and if you have any questions, please let me know. If you like this video, please thumbs up, and if you really like it, please subscribe. So thank you for watching.